Hey guys, it's Ryan. I wanted to do a revision to the vehicle wrap project instructional video that I did just a couple days ago. And what I wanted to do for this was show you some things because one, the mouse pointer did not show up as intended. I may have accidentally unchecked that box, or I'm not sure what exactly happened. Second, there were some steps that I wasn't very clear about, so I wanted to clarify those issues. So here we go. I'm going to open up Illustrator, and this is Illustrator CC revision 2015. And immediately it pops up this welcome screen. I'm going to close that. For whatever reason, my toolbars always get messed up when I add my secondary display. I'm going to give you two options. One is to open up a file that I've already created, and this is only for my class, my live class. You guys can open up one of those files that I've already created, and I will show you that here in just a second. The other option is to go to the internet and download a file, an artwork file for the blueprints. So you have a side and front and back, and optional if you would like a top view or a second side view. And I'll tell you why you might want a second side view. If you put any text on your vehicle and so it reads one way from the other side, if you just flip that and mirror it for the second side, your wrap is going to have backwards text. So if you would like to have text on that, go ahead and get a second side view, and I'll show you how to do that if the blueprint that you find does not have a second side already provided. Okay, so first, opening the files that I've created. So I sent the link. You would have opened that up and unzipped the file, and then you'll have some options, but so I'll show you how to open that in Illustrator. Go to Command O on a Mac, Control O on a PC, and for example, let's pull the Hummer H1 wagon, and it looks like this. And so you can see the side view, the top view, front, back, and I flipped and put an alternate side just so you have a second side to work from, again, if you want to put text on it. The first thing we'll do, well, let me show you first the other option if you want to get your own artwork. And for that, I'll just go to Google Chrome, and I'll go in my browser to the-blueprints.com, and you see that address up here. And I have an account, which is something I didn't notice in the previous and in our discussions. In order to get the higher than 500 by 500 higher resolution images, you need to have an account. It's free, but anyway, so this is one option. I will show you another option immediately following this. So what you do is you go to the Blueprints database, you choose the type of vehicle that you want to wrap, so car, motorcycle, truck, buses. I'd stay away from some of the ships and tanks and things like that because they're a little more intricate. However, there are some vehicles that are fairly intricate. So I went into Ferrari, and I know which one that I want, and in this case it happens to be the largest image on here. And so I'm going to show you some of the things that you want to look for. So you'll scroll down until you find the vehicle that you're looking for, make and model, etc. Mine is not on this page. I could skip to another one, but instead you can sort by name, you can sort by date added, and you can sort by dimensions. The other thing to look for is the AI icon right next to the name indicates that it is a vector image, and I would prefer that you not get those vector images. Number one, because not all vector images are created equally, and they may not get you the result that you're looking for. And number two, they cost money, and I'm trying to do this for free, give you the option for free. Go ahead and buy one and download it if you want to. I mean, that's your choice. If you're doing it outside of this class, by all means, do whatever you want. But for the purposes of the class for this project, I would prefer that you get into and get familiar with tracing objects. So just be aware that those vector objects or those vector images are available, but I would counsel you not to use those. And then you can sort by dimensions, and dimensions will give you the largest dimensions first if you sort by dimensions, and you can tell what size they are. And again, if you have an account, then you can just download this image. So I'm going to click on the Ferrari F99 GTB, and you can see that it's at 29%. I could scroll down to purchase the vector image, or I could just simply download the image itself. And again, you do that with an account, and so it'll just pop up the that. I'm going to skip out of that because there's another way you can do it, and this is a way to do it without an account. So sorry to the-blueprints.com folks if you want to keep people from downloading your images. Don't give them freely available. So I'm going to copy the image, and I'll go to Illustrator, and then I'm going to create a new document. So Command N, Control N on a PC, make it letter size, landscaped, click OK. When I paste it, it is humongous. So I'll zoom out so you can see how big it is. This is our artboard, and this is how big the image is. So you'll scale it down. Hopefully your image is large enough that you can scale it down, or you can scale it up if it's too small. The other way to find images, again, this is only for educational purposes, is to simply go to your search engine of choice and choose what you're looking for, and click go to your images, and you can sort by size here. As you can see, this one's carblueprintsinfo.com. There's one from SM Cars. So a lot of the game designers and 3D modelers are going to have blueprints available. So whatever you're looking for, you should be able to, as long as you type in the name and the make and model of the car plus the word blueprints, you should be able to find what you're looking for in a fairly high-res version. So go ahead and do that, copy it, and then paste it into Illustrator like I just did with this Ferrari. So I'll go back to Illustrator, and then I want to resize this. And if I have the selection tool, which is V for vector, and I hover over the corners, we discussed resizing objects using the bounding box and the transform tools that are built right into the vector shapes. So I'll hold down Shift to constrain it after I start dragging, and that'll constrain the proportions and keep everything how I want them to. I think I've turned off my smart guides because I don't see them. So I'm going to go, yes I have. So I'm going to do snap to point, and I'm going to go view menu and turn on my smart guides so that I can have that help. Not that I need it, but I turned it off because I'll show you in a little bit. And there we go. Now it's snapped to that size. So Command 0, Control 0 will get me to the full artboard that's a little too big. So I'll zoom out just a little bit, one more, and then I can continue to size this. I want to be able to fit all 4 of these angles on the page. So I'm going to constrain it to the height rather than the width. So I'll do that right there. And then I will show you how to move around your views and add a custom, add a second side to the view. As long as you have one side, I'll show you how to do that. So I will click my object, my blueprint image. I will Control C or Command C on a Mac, and then I will do a paste. So Control V, Command V on a Mac, and I will move. I want to focus right now on this rear area, the rear view of the Ferrari, and so I'll put it about where I want it, and then I'll grab the rectangle tool by holding down M or pressing M. I don't need to hold it down, and then I can drag a rectangular shape around the car, and you won't see it will cover up if you have a fill. So it doesn't matter if you have a fill. If it helps you to see what's going on there, make sure that your fill is slashed out. And I'm going to zoom in here so I can get a better view, and that's Control and Spacebar, Command and Spacebar. So now you see my rectangular object and my the rear view of the car right behind it. Now I'm going to make sure that I have the selection tool, and I have both of these selected. I have the car and the rectangle, and I can you can either drag around those two views to make sure that those are selected. You can click one and then the other, and then what you want to do is make a clipping mask. So we'll go Object, Path, Object Clipping Mask, Clipping Mask Make, which is Control 7 or Command 7, and it will take that box that you created and use that as the picture frame, and everything else gets removed from your view. That's essentially what it's doing. So now I can drag this wherever I want it, and we will zoom back out again. I'll do Control or Command V to paste another version, drag the front view to where I want it, and it's right there. And then I'll hit the M for rectangle tool, and again drag my rectangular shape. Make sure that I hold down Shift when I select, and then Control or Command 7, and now I have another clipping mask. This one here, since I have these two views already on the page over here, I can just create a rectangular shape around the other two views that I want to keep. Hold down Shift, and while I select, and I'm selecting in this case by holding down Control or Command. We've talked about that for the finger dance. So holding down Shift as well, and then Control 7 or Command 7 to make a clipping mask around that. So now I have all of the 4 views that I wanted, but I also want to add the side view on the opposite side. So let's Control V one more time, and I'm going to hit the selection tool with V, drag that thing up where I want it. It's a little low, maybe right there. Keep it on the page, tapping with the arrow keys. Okay, now what you want to do is something in class we haven't discussed, and we will talk about them in like the next week or so, maybe even on our next class after today, because we're going to have class later today. So the reflect tool is on the flyout for the rotate tool, and it's O. And remember, when you look at the letter O, if you flip it vertically or horizontally, the reflection always looks the same. Okay, so that's how you remember O for the reflect tool. So you get that tool, and instead of using it, you can use it, but be careful because it can do some weird things. So what you do instead is just double click that, and it'll bring up this box, and the box has horizontal, vertical, or an angle. We want it to flip across the vertical axis, and that's what it means. So axis vertical, you want to reflect the object across the vertical angle. And let's click the preview so that we can see what happens. As you see, if I leave it unchecked, I don't know what it's going to look like. If you click preview, then you can see it before it happens, and you don't have to undo. That way you can be sure that you're going in the right direction. For example, if you had it on horizontal, now I've just tipped the car on its head, over the upside down. And now just make sure, in this case, you want vertical. Then click OK, and then I can go back to my my rectangle tool with the M key and drag around that new shape. Keep it selected and select the image in the background, and then create the mask with Command or Control 7. Now I want to move it a little bit so it's up and away from the corner. I want to move this one actually a little bit away from that edge as well. So now I have all 5 views that I want to use for my mask, for my car. What you do now, whether you've opened it this way or opened a vehicle, and I'm going to put a marker in here so I know where to pick up the other video. So if you had opened one of the vehicles that I provided, then you can skip to this point. Otherwise, just keep following along. So with the layer panel, what we're going to do, and this is in Adobe Illustrator CC 2015 again. I'm not sure if it's available in the other versions. I can't remember specifics. So we'll open the layer panel, and on all of your versions, Mac or PC, it's going to be F7, or it's this little stack of 2 pieces of paper that look like layers. That's what the icon looks like, or yeah, you know what I mean. So then we make sure that we have the layer here, and we're going to double click, but not on the words. If you double click on the words, it'll ask you if it'll give you the option to rename it. I don't want to rename it, so we'll double click somewhere else. I do want to rename it, but I didn't want to rename it there because I wanted to do some other things too. So I'll call this Blueprint. So go ahead and do that, call it Blueprint. And you can then, if you're in CC 2015 or even 2014, you can create a template. And watch what happens. When you click Template, Show and Preview are clicked, Lock is also clicked or checked, and Dim Image comes up, which gives you an option. And dim image to 50% means that the image, all of the image on this layer, is going to be at 50%. I'll show you what happens when you uncheck that. Or yeah, the difference. You see how it kind of faded there? I'll do that. I'll undo that. And in my case, I think I might leave it on because my image is very thin. The lines are really thin, and so it's not very dark. So I think I'm going to leave that off. Next, what you want to do is create the wrap layer. And by wrap layer, I mean this is the outline shape. And so this was the confusing thing that I put on the instruction sheet, the thing that confused people when I was talking about it last night. And basically what we're going to do is create the outline. So even if let's call it the outline instead of the wrap layer. So we'll come down to the new layer button here in the layers panel, and it looks like a new page. So create new layer, and we will call this new layer outline. And we can just do that by double clicking on it and clicking OK. Now what you want to do is get a color. Pick a color that is going to be, number one, different than the selection color. And you can change the selection color if you don't want that. So double click. Our selection color right here on the layer is light red, and I'm going to change that to this super bright green. And the reason I'll do that is I will show you, because let me undo that and go back to the light red. But on my image here, let's say I want to use red as my stroke color. So we'll select the stroke and go to a nice red color, and I will start drawing my outline. And as you can see, my red stroke color is the same color of my anchor points and my selections. Oh, that one was kind of stinky. And using the line tools, either the pen, the pencil, the curvature tool, whichever you're most comfortable with using. And let me zoom in here, and you can see that we'll just go around the shape. So now you can see that my line is the same color as my selection. And that's what I was talking about. It's all red, and maybe I don't want that, so I can see where my anchor points are a little better. And I'll show you the difference. Again, let's really zoom into that so it's full screen, and we can get the full magnitude of this change. So I'll double click again on my outline layer, and I'll change that to that bright green and see what happens. You see now how much those anchor points and the handles show up in contrast to the red color that I'm using as my my stroke on the shapes. That's what I was talking about. So you'll create your shape and tidy up your curves. Make sure that you're following the line that you want to follow. Like, for example, here I don't want to have the grill as part of my mask. And so this outline is everything that the vinyl that you're creating, the vinyl mask, is going to cover up. So you can add anchor points and remove them, change them to curves, and do those kinds of things. So that's the first part of my mask. The next thing you'll want to do is take out any things, any objects that are going to be cut out of that mask. And we're using kind of a fat stroke here. This stroke is honestly thicker than I would actually use to draw the image, simply because I'm not drawing it, I'm just outlining it. And if you want to see how that outline looks, just go to Command Y, which is the outline, and you can see how thin it is. And that's simply just the path around your artwork. Obviously you can't see it here because I have a black and white lines of my Ferrari right behind. So I'll turn off that layer by toggling it so you can't see it. And now you can see my outline stroke. If I go back to Control Y or Command Y, and then again that just toggles back and forth, you can see the shape now in the red. Go back to just the line, the red, and then turn back on the blueprint to finish up your lines. So once you are completed, and I'm going to speed up the time here, or the camera, so I can finish up this, and I'll show you what to do next. So stick around. Oh, before I do that, let's make sure that we save these things. Remember my shortcuts for in the finger dance. Make sure to save always, save often, because I say so. You don't want to lose your artwork. So I'm going to do that. I'll save it now as my Ferrari 599. Save. Yes, I'm going to replace it in this case. Otherwise, when you hit save, it's just a Control S, Command S. Okay? All right. Here comes some speeding up time. Okay, so now I have that part done. So that's the basic outline of the car. Of course, you could go more detailed or less detailed according to your own preference. You could smooth out the lines using any of the smooth tool, or other things that you would like to do. Manipulate the anchor points. This is just for a quick tutorial. So the next thing I want to do is cut out those areas that I don't want to be part of the mask. For example, the Ferrari emblem here, and let me zoom in on it. I want that to be still there as not part of the mask. So I will add a cut, and basically for that I'm just going to outline it with the pen tool. And again, you could use the pen tool, you could use the curvature tool, you could use the pencil tool, whichever you're most comfortable with. So let's see what else. I've got the signal indicator here on the side, and for this it's an ellipse, it's a circle. So I'm going to grab the ellipse tool and constrain it holding Alt from center until I get the circle I want, and hold down Shift as well, and then lift up, and then let go of the controller keys, the modifiers. So that is that one. I know there's another one somewhere. Right there, the key. I really don't like spotlight search on my Mac. Maybe I should turn that off. So the key place right there. The door handle is actually a different color, so I'm going to grab my pen tool again. That will be traced and cut out of my shape here. Convert my anchor point, remember, so I can adjust my handles. And that covers that. Next, I want to take care of the window. Now, depending on how detailed you want to go, you could either do right at the window, you could go to the window frame itself outside, you could do the rubber liners, or wherever your mask is going to go. I'm going to put mine on this part because that is the vinyl, or not vinyl, it's going to be carbon fiber on a Ferrari. And then there's the rubber that goes beneath the window to seal it. And I'm going to pull that curve out because it's got a nice swooping shape to it. And then I'm going to skip around, cut around the mirror, because the mirror is part of the vehicle that I don't want. I've been asked, should we do the doors? Should we do, this and that? It's personal preference, number one, and number two, you can also edit it after you have it created. So, for example, I'm going to cut the mirror out of this, and then if I want to add or include something later on, I can always just go into my mask and edit once I have these lines created. So I'll finish up that. Anything else I know that I'm gonna need to take out? How about this down here, the vent? So now I can speed up the rest of this video and clean up anything else that I need to, and then I will catch up to you here in just a little bit. So now when I want to turn this into something that I can use as my outline shape with all of the intersections and or not intersections, all of the smaller pieces included, I will grab and select with my selection tool so that I have all of my anchor points and path selected. And then what I do, it's actually really easy. I was showing people to use the Pathfinder tool, and there's a better way. Here's what we're going to do. You simply right-click while it's selected, right-click on one of your paths, and whoops, sorry, I twitchy finger there, and go down to, so right-click on the path and go to Make Compound Path. You won't see any change in your path. However, that is critical when you deselect and then select again, deselect and select again. Anywhere on the point, you know that you have that single path, and it's a compound path. And the reason you do that is so that it will play nice with as a clipping mask. So next what we will do is I'm going to drag this down to the other view, the other side view, and then I will reflect that just like we did when we created the opposite angle or the opposite side. So double click the reflect tool and then make sure preview is on and hit OK, and then I will zoom in here with space and control or command and align that thing so it's right where it needs to be. It's still not right. I need to come down a little. Let's use this corner point. There we go. All right, now it's in its position. So I will click Command 0 to get to the fit in window. And then what I need you to do is save it. So remember to save. Mine is a big file, so it kind of took a little bit there. Now you're going to see your outline and your blueprint. What I want you to do is create a new layer on your layers panel, and then drag that layer below the outline layer but above the blueprint layer. Another way you could have done that is to go to the blueprint layer. So we had the outline layer selected, click once on the blueprint layer and click the new layer tab, or create new layer icon. And then now we have a new layer. Let's double click this. Let's call it design, because that makes the most sense. And on this layer we are going to do the design of our wrap. I'm going to turn off the outline, or lock it actually, so that I can still see it, but I can't edit it and make mistakes and ruin everything. All right. Now I'm going to make my shape that I want to, whatever design I want to do for my vehicle wrap, and that I will just speed up here and do it so you guys can see it. Okay, I think that's what I'm going for. So now I have my artwork on my design layer done, and I'm going to select it and turn it into a group. So Control G, and then I'm going to copy it up to here and try and get it in the same place, and then I'm going to reflect that. And that's pretty close. I think it does come down a little bit more right there, and I can reference off of this point on the door handle in this case. I'll go right there. So now I have both sides, and I can work with creating my mask. As you can see, I forgot that front area. So let me come in here and just tweak that so it comes right off of the front headlight, and then the nose is going to be blue. Okay, so now I select my artwork for my design. I will also select my outline and make sure that everything that I need selected. So Control or Command 7. And now I've got a pretty awesome looking wrap, if I do say so myself. And I'll do that for this one as well. Control or Command 7. And there you go. Now I have my vehicle wrapped, or the design created. I can turn off the background if I want to see just what it's going to look like. And I hope yours looks awesomer than mine does, although mine's pretty epic. I like that. Okay, then what we'll do is we will just save these files, and we will then in our class we'll discuss how we're going to do our critique session. So thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this tutorial on creating a vehicle wrapped, and we'll catch you on the next one. Thank you. Bye.